Strike right here on VSiN. Of course, we've got a lot of action to get to. Get in on the Bellator 268 action for free with the Bellator MMA Prediction Challenge. Answer questions about how you think it's all going to go down on October 16th for your shot up to $5,000. Head to DraftKings.com/Showtime now to make your predictions before the fight begins. Who's going to be one step closer to claiming the light heavyweight throne? Well, don't miss the light heavyweight World Grand Prix semifinals on Saturday, October 16th, live on Showtime. Terms and conditions apply and other eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Back here on First Strike, I am Dave Ross. It's always great to have the man himself, Lou Finocchiaro, join the program. Of course, you've got to listen to his podcast, Bout Business. Episode 5 drops this afternoon. Lou, it's great to have you back on the program. I always like it because when we get to catch up with you when you're at the weigh-ins, and I know you get to glean a lot when you watch these fighters up close and in person. So I want to get your thoughts. Let's start off in the UFC, and let's start right at the top here with the main event. So when you look at Aspen Ladd moving up in weight now to 145 pounds, and Lou, you and I have talked about it in previous shows, she struggled to make weight here. Now at 45, had to be a much easier weight cut for her in this non-title fight, right?
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, for Aspen Ladd, making 45 is going to be a breeze. The issue is she wants to fight at 35 so she can have size and advantage, but she can't make that weight. And segueing into that conversation is the fact that just 2 weeks ago, she missed weight at 135, was weak-kneed and wobbly on the scale, and now turns around 2 weeks later to take another fight, steps up in weight against a legitimate 145er who'll weigh 157, 160 in the cage by the time the opening bell goes off. So there's some unknown with Ladd and some advantage with Dumont.
When you look at this, Lou, here from a handicapping perspective, and I know you always try to find value. That's obviously something you can listen to in the About Business podcast. What value have you seen? Is it straight up on the challenger then? Because at plus money, do you like her odds here to just flat out get the win? As we saw this happen last week with the ladies when they took center stage, the dog cashed in that fight as well.
Provided an investor is willing to overlook the unknown with Ladd, yes, Dumont would be the side, and that's where I would lean. That said, Ladd's a pretty ferocious wrestler, and if she could get Dumont to the ground, and that's a big if, then advantage perhaps sways. So there's so much unknown in this fight that I'm going to have to settle for a lean to Dumont, not necessarily a bet, because I just don't know what to expect from Aspen Ladd.
And here's the other thing, Lou, and we talked about it with Nick Kalikas earlier in the program. When you look at the over-under here, set at 4.5, right? So we're expecting this fight to go deep into the Las Vegas night here. What do you make of that number here? Because, again, it's juiced to the under at minus 130. Is there value in taking the over and assuming this fight's going to go all 5?
You know, Dave, as I think about it, no. I think the way I handicap this fight is that the questions I have with Ladd will be in regard to how she handles the move up in weight and what her cardio and capacity can be after training 6 weeks for a fight, then taking 2 weeks off and trying to ramp back up. I would lean to under here, whether Dumont's too big and wears her down, or more importantly, I think Aspen Ladd knows that she's got limited time and she may just come out there and throw the throttle way open and try and get it done. I would lean to under here, not over.
And Lou, that's a great point because, again, you mentioned at 135, she was dying on the scale there, right? So now all of a sudden, what's the cardio situation going to be for her at 145? I think it's a very astute observation. She might go for broke knowing that that gas tank will empty. We saw it last week with Mackenzie Dern trying to get that stoppage in the second round. She couldn't get it. And all of a sudden, she just held on. It goes to a decision that she ultimately lost. Let's talk about the co-main event here. And look, I'm an old guy, Lou, so I always root for the old guys here. And Andrei Arlovski taking on the younger challenger. 42-26 is the age difference here when you look at Carlos Felipe. And basically a pick 'em fight here. Which way would you pick him if you had to wager it?
Well, you know what, Dave? I'm an old guy too, and they'd have to have one of the Gracies in for me to make a reference as far back as I go. But with regard to this fight, I think what you have here is a really great clash in styles. Carlos Felipe called out Arlovsky, and we know from being a long-time UFC and mixed martial arts enthusiast that the Brazil-Russia rivalry, it's as real as the Dodgers and the Giants. I mean, these countries hate each other when it comes to fighting. Philippe is 16 years the younger man at 26, but he looks like a baker or a plumber physique-wise. But we can't get fooled by the physique because he has explosion, power, and as a kid he was bullied because he was obese. At 12, 13, he weighed 350. These kids bullied him in Brazil, and it gives him an unbelievable attitude, an aggressive, snarling disposition, and he wants to go out there and finish Arlovsky, who has been known to be chinny. That said, Arlovsky's going to be 5 inches the taller man. He's going to have 8 inches of reach advantage. He's got vast experience, and he's seen young Brazilians snarling at him before. So what we have to measure is the old man against the young man. And to me, Philippe has 8 minutes to really get this done, and if he can't get it done, I think if Arlovsky can navigate around in a minute, he's going to be in position to keep Philippe on the outside and maybe turn the bout his way.
It's fascinating contrast in styles. I can't believe we look at Andrei Arlovsky these days as the guy who's going to be the stick and move guy in the octagon and maybe play towards an over. And again, because he is a bit chinny or has been in the past, you always worry about the flash knockout here with a punch power of the Brazilian, but it's a very interesting style of fights. I do want to get to Bellator very quickly, Lou, and I want to pick your brain. When you look at Ryan Bader against Corey Alexander, of course, these are UFC vets that the UFC fight crowd knows very, very well. Again, talk about age here. Bader's getting up there. He's 38 years old. CO Alexander here so far looking good in Bellator, undefeated in his first 2 fights there. And he's the solid favorite here at DraftKings at minus 190. You know, I look at Bader, and I know he's an accomplished wrestler, but so is Anderson. Which side do you like here? Because at plus money, I feel like they're double dog daring me to take Bader.
Yeah, this fight opened much tighter line. The money's been coming in on Anderson. And yes, I will give Anderson a little edge in the wrestling. And I'll give him a little edge maybe in cardio and pressure. But all he's been doing this week is flapping his gums. I'm reading out of him tremendous overconfidence, or it's just to tell that he's nervous as he can be. Meanwhile, this morning at the weigh-ins, which I attended, I saw Bader, and I pulled him off to the side, and I said, "Hey, Ryan, can I ask you a favor?" He said, "What can I do for you?" I said, "Would you shut this kid up?" And I believe Bader is going to do, in fact, that. And it's with power, because Corey's got a glass jaw. You sneeze on him, and he's going to go. And I think Bader's going to catch him.
Wow. Okay. I think I'm going to go to the window there and back Ryan Bader on that one. Again, it wasn't that long ago. We were talking about Ryan Bader against Daniel Cormier in the UFC in the light heavyweight division. I mean, that's how acclaimed Ryan Bader was before he left the UFC on a winning streak to go to Bellator and collect belts there. So we'll find out about that. The other fight in Bellator I do want to mention with you very quickly, it's Benson Smooth Henderson against Brent Primus here. What is your take on this? Because these are, you know, Benson's a former UFC champ. Primus is a former Bellator champ. So it's kind of champ versus champ. Which way do you lean here?
Benson, a product and owner of the MMA lab that has spoon-fed me information for 20 years and made me the handicapper I am. So I can't get involved in any Benson Henderson fight just because I'm too close to him, but I will break it down like this. Primus is a monster. And as good as Benson is with his jiu-jitsu and on the floor, I don't think he wants to go there with Primus. I think Benson, if he keeps distance, keeps this on the feet, he is the most cerebral fighter you'll ever see because he is so mental. Primus is, I mean, he could hit a building and it'll fall down. So it's going to be guile against absolute grit. And I think Benson's in very good position here. I look for the fight to be a decision one way way or the other, and where it takes place will tell you where it's going to be. If it's on the floor, Primus is going to have advantage, and if it's on the feet, Benson's going to have advantage.
Okay, I got about 1 minute left with a man you can follow on Twitter as I do, @GamBlue, of course, VSiN contributor Lou Finocchiaro. Lou, I'll give you any card. You have 2 cards, UFC and Bellator. Your best bet tomorrow night is what?
What I want to give you is a bet that I'm very, very confident that is mispriced, and it is on the Bellator card. And where we have to go, we have a couple of names here that I'm going to have to be forced to take a look at. So I have a Swedish fighter, Albrechtsen, who's facing a Ukrainian, Yagshmuradov. Albrechtsen is a favorite. Run, don't walk. Carl Albrechtsen.
Wow. That's why we love talking to Lou Finocchiaro. Of course, follow him on Twitter and listen to the Bout Business podcast. Lou, enjoy the fights. We'll catch up again next week.
Thanks for having me, Dave, and good luck to everyone.
We are back right here on First Strike on VSiN. Going to break it down analytically with Reed Kuhn next.